What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Oil Stream. Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola with you, presented to you by our great partners at Boston Pizza. If you're looking for a place to watch the game tonight, we do suggest you hit up the Boston Pizza locations, hit those lounges, hit those restaurants, take the family all around the city. Those lounges will be packed. Tommy Gazzola, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Oh, look at those new intro graphics that we have now.
That was nice, right?
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Really quick and to the point. I like it. Well done, YouTube Trev. And yeah, pack up those BP lounges with how cold it is. Let them make your dinner for you, and you don't have to deal with all this and get stressed out about making dinner. Just go to BP Lounge or BP in general.
Definitely. And try their new BP's Sicilian square footer pizza. The entire square foot of toppings, edge to crispy edge, a light pillowy center made for all to enjoy. See you soon at Boston Pizza with the new New York Sicilian square footer. Not too bad. Not too bad. The intro looks nice. It just kind of sharpens things up a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, neat and tidy, right? Like it makes it cleaner in and out. And I think there's an extra too, or an outro.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Look at us being fancy boys. Fancy boys.
Fancy boys indeed. Fancy boys indeed. You can hit us up in the nasty chat, which people already are. Or, of course, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Zach's stream's good to go, too. On button, everything's good. We're rolling. We're cruising along. Tommy, interesting morning skate today, or what? How's the morning skate today?
It wasn't inspiring, that's for sure. Like, it was really.
Are other morning skates inspiring? I'm just curious. Like, what was the big difference?
What you could notice today was it was just like quiet, and there was no jump, and the drills that they were doing had like no pep in them. Like, lots of waiting around, and then when they did do the drills, they were sloppy. And a couple of times Knoblauch was like, "Go back, do it again," and then they would go back and
during
do it
the
again,
morning skate.
Miss pass, yeah.
Holy
usually
smokes.
It's like quick up tempo drills. Let's go. Get the legs going. Fire it up. Get the body moving. Wake up a little bit. Get that shock to the system. None of that today. And I know Shager tweeted about it. I forgot my phone. I didn't have it with me at the rink. I feel shame.
How do you forget your phone, dude?
Well, I left it plugged in on my couch. And then I got to the rink, went through security, and I was like, where's my phone? And then I realized I had left it. So I was useless at the rink. I observed, and I used a pen and paper in my pad folio.
I was going to say, you brought pen and paper, but you didn't bring your phone?
Yes.
Because of a backpack? Did you carry a backpack? Is that what it was?
I had my backpack with my pad folio, and it was old school, baby.
Penner's Pancakes is wondering, Tommy, do you carry binoculars like Shaggy does? You got any binoculars kicking around there, Tommy?
No, I borrow his because he sits right beside me. He's been on the binos a lot lately. A lot of bench watching.
He's been watching a lot on the bench. Yeah, he said today Draisaitl's been furious on the bench a lot lately. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack around this team right now.
I use his binoculars to like check out people in the stands. If like I have friends there, we're like, I need those. He's like, what are you looking at? I'm like, friends. I have friends, Ryan. Not everything has to do with hockey. 98% has to do with hockey in this team, but the other 2% is like friendship and family.
All right, so just an awkward morning skate today. Just an awkward morning skate.
Uninspired. Let me just describe it as uninspired. And you've heard guys tell stories about they had a terrible morning skate, and then they had the best game of their lives, or one goalie couldn't stop a puck to save his life in a morning skate, thinking, I'm in trouble, and then puts together a 45 save shutout. Like, that can happen, and maybe that is what happens tonight. But for a team that had yesterday off, for a team that for the most part didn't show up against the Calgary Flames and had small spurts against Calgary where you're like, they're there, and then they'd let in a goal. Poor defensive plays, awful giveaways through the neutral zone and D zone. You would think that they would want to, motivate themselves and kind of create that spark on their own. And then you go, well, maybe they're going to have a good good skate today. Everybody was out there. No messing around. But really, it was just like, oh, okay, you go regroup, D to D, yep, break out. And then I looked at Schauger. He's like, what are they doing? I'm like, man, I don't even know if they're working on neutral zone stuff. Like, are they working on zone entries? Like, what's going on here? Like, that doesn't seem like a drill that would address the shittiness of their neutral zone play the other day. And so Ryan, shared his thoughts via X and then asked Knoblauch about it. But maybe they show up tonight. Maybe they wake up at 7:30 p.m. today and take it to the Kings. But this morning skate that we witnessed today, nothing good there.
I mean, if they win tonight, who cares about the morning skate? But if they come out tonight,
exactly,
and look bad and have like a bad start and lose to the Kings and make it 0-3-1 on the first 4 of a 5-game homestand, there's a serious discussion that has to be had about what the hell is going on with that team right now, right?
Yeah, and the first thing I would, and if let's go to this hypothetical route here, if they drop this game, pardon me, to the Kings tonight, and they have another bad start, uninspired, sloppy in the neutral zone and D zone, Skinner can't make that one extra save, then we're talking about the same issues. I don't. And people are already sounding the alarms, and we've seen it on the pre and post game show. I'm sure you've seen it this morning in the inbox, and people are like, "This team doesn't have it. They don't have it." I don't want to jump to that, but with how they've come out of the gate since the All-Star break / bye week at 4-5-1, Dusty, and 0-2-1 on this homestand, where you should be or you need to be picking up points and winning games, I would, go towards more of they're in a lull, mid-season dog days of the year lull, and I would give them a little bit more leash than sounding the alarm bells. And that's even with a loss tonight. But I'm not watching this team and going, boy, they deserve better in these games, because they definitely do not.
I was going to say, even with the loss tonight, you'd still just say mid-season lull.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
you might be on your own on that one.
Hey, man, I'll tell you this. Oil Country hits the panic button quicker than anybody I've ever seen. And that's a collective they do.
Yeah.
There's a hairpin trigger on what is good with this team and what is bad with this team. And as soon as something slightly goes sideways, there's a boom. Oh, we need this. We need that. Why don't they have a goalie? Why don't they have this? Like this 10-game segment that we've witnessed, and that's a good chunk of the season. Not that good, obviously. The way they played, the obvious results were not there, the ones that they wanted. But there are peaks and valleys in a season, and I am willing to still categorize this part of the season and how poorly they're playing and their lack of positive results to a mid-season lull. They're capable of better. I think they will drag themselves out of it. Maybe they do get some help in the next week or two via trades. I think that's quite likely, to be honest with you. But I would still peg it as a mid-season lull. And yes, they're losing ground to the Kings. Yes, they could be back in a wild card spot tonight, but they could also heat up and rattle off 24 of 27 like we saw. This team there's no like happy medium. It's either one or the other.
Yeah, that's the tough part, is because what's tonight? Is tonight game 56?
Yes.
Right? So for half of their games, they looked near unbeatable. And for the other half of the games, they've looked very mid, I think, as the kids say. And that's putting it politely, considering the way the season started. Like Craig Button said this morning, I mean, they've allowed more goals over this 10-game stretch than their first 10 games to start the season. And look at their first 10 games to start the season. So they've fallen apart again defensively. And Skinner hasn't been able to bail them out of these situations. He's somewhat to blame on parts of it, for sure. I'm not going to hang as much of it on him as some other people will. But he's just going back. So morning skate today sucked. We'll see how that plays out. Didn't skate yesterday. What was the biggest complaint from fans? And I was around, I don't know, I probably caught about 3/4 of the post-game show on Saturday. What was the biggest sticking point for people coming out of a loss at home on a Saturday night to the Calgary Flames?
You know what? Goaltending didn't. I think I expected more of people complaining about the goalies, but it was really this team looking like it did in the first month and a half of the season, that was starting to pop up as a theme. And they have.
They did.
Their defensive lapses are laughable. I mean, McDavid, who is on this crazy tear in the last 9 games without scoring a goal, 21 assists, that's great. We applaud him, and he deserves all the credit in the world for being able to do that. But when you like back check and you have a guy and then you let him go for whatever reason, and he redirects the puck past your goalie on a nice redirection to give Calgary the lead early in the game on like their 3rd shot of the game, that's brutal. That's brutal. And that's not supposed to be his MO, the team's MO, but that was an indicator where that night was going to go. And when your captain's doing that, other guys do that. Draisaitl, the stupid penalty. Like, you can't take that penalty. And I know Shoggy was talking about it on the morning mandate. It was building up, slow burn. He's watching and spying on him, on the bench,
He's watching
in his bedroom.
Spying on him.
He's in his community, driving around. That's what Shoggy does, just to make sure he's got the scoop. So he said it was a slow, but like, you still can't take that. It was just a stupid penalty, and it cost them. They couldn't kill it off. So whenever they had a spark, they did something done, and they got a goal scored against them. And the coverage in front of the net isn't great. The rebound control wasn't great the other night for Stuart Skinner, and he popped out a couple of juicy ones. The decision making, the guys in front of him, just brutal. Yeah, it's like that was what people were starting to get worried about. Is like, yeah, they're the team of the early part of the season. I'm not willing to go that far, but they do still have some of those elements of their game that linger in the weeds and pop up from time to time. And they've certainly been more prevalent, those bad habits, in the last 10 games.
It was a good chat. It was a good chat on Saturday night. There was a lot to discuss from that game. I just don't like how you let Nazem Kadri come into your house and kind of own you for a night. Like
he was one of the best players.
That can't happen.
Best player on the ice.
That can't happen. How can a team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl allow Nazem Kadri to be the best player on the ice? Like, I honestly thought it was their leaders that let them down against Calgary. I mean, we know those guys set the tone. Everybody else follows. They did not set a good tone. There was a few guys who tried to push through. Like when Connor McDavid gets knocked down, leads to a goal, whatever. I don't know where to come out on, like, on Matthias Janmark being the guy who goes over and tries to get something going and goes to the box and comes out and actually does something about it. When you've got all these other guys on the team, Matthias Janmark's the guy who's doing it. Like, round of applause for Matthias Janmark, but not his job, dude. You know what I mean? Like, somebody else has to take care of that. Like,
yeah, and you would point to guys like, where's Kane in that instance? Where is Vinny Desharnais? Even though they only have 6 D-man, but still, where's Vinny Desharnais, who could be an absolute force out there? Even in a game like that, Darnell Nurse could step up
Fogle. I know Fogle's.
Fogel's not going to do that.
He's got some decent size, but has Matthias Janmark ever done it before? That's why I like Matthias Janmark stepping up and doing it. Like, have some courage. Stand up for your captain. I mean, any of these guys should be capable of doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it just takes a willingness. Yeah.
When you're on a heater like Janmark,
well, he's got to be careful with those mitts. He's got to be careful with those mitts.
Well, he's not messing around, so he's feeling it. He's in it. He goes out there. He says, "You don't touch my captain," to Blake Coleman. Good for him.
Which was great.
And it got him a bump up to the top 6 going into tonight.
Yeah, where do you come out on Knoblauch basically juggling lines as often as Jay Woodcroft did prior to being fired?
I think Chris Knoblauch, his patience has run out for allowing these guys to have extra leeway because he realizes they do nothing with it. And I think he's also realizing some of the personality traits of this team that Jay Woodcroft had to deal with. And, that new coach bump is gone. And he seemed Knoblauch as calm, cool, collected, and even keeled as he generally is. I think he's showing some frustration. You can hear him in some of the things he says, the way he says it. Like, he's not going to yell. He doesn't get fired up, but he makes some comments and you're like, oh, that is a criticism. But he said it in a very quiet, nice, controlled, composed way. And more so lately in these past couple of weeks since the team's been back from the break, you've heard him make those statements and comments. And if you're listening for inflection or raised voice, you're not going to get it from him. But he'll tell you in a subtle way if he doesn't like something. And we've heard more of that from him.
All right, let's dive into it. You mentioned Matthias Janmark's going to get the bump from practice today, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but Leon Draisaitl will be with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. Nuge will be with Matthias Janmark and Evander Kane. Perry, McLeod, and Fogle together. And then Dylan Holloway with Derek Ryan and Connor Brown. I thought that line actually had a pretty decent game. I mean, they outshot the opposition, or outcoursed the opposition when they were on the ice by a significant margin. I love Dylan Holloway's game against the Calgary Flames. I mean, he was more physical in a game against the Flames than Ryan McLeod has been his entire career. It's that simple. I mean, I don't know how a guy can stay out of the mix as much as Ryan McLeod manages to stay out of the mix. But he's back on track, I guess.
He had a great chance. Who was he kind of? I think it was Connor Zary. He had a great chance to mix it up with Zary, and he didn't. Like, Zary's quite a bit smaller than Ryan McLeod, and I know Ryan McLeod is a very easygoing, friendly guy, but like, punch the guy in the face before he punches you in the face. That's kind of like, you might not win a fight, whatever. It might not even get to the point of a fight, the way the linesmen jump in to break up these skirmishes. It's super annoying, obviously, in my opinion, but punch him in the face before he punches you in the face. It's okay. You could do it. They'll let you get away with one or two.
Portions of the Oil Stream brought to you by One Putt Virtual Golf, the best and most accurate indoor golf places in the city for both serious and casual golfers. They got the 6 TrackMan bays, which makes it the perfect place to play golf, hang out with your friends, catch an Oilers game if you want, crush some EST 6 o'clock or lager that they've got there in cans. Their spring league starts tonight, so I'm not too sure if you can still sign up for it. Because that's supposed to start today. They had some great prizes over there. They're doing a lot of good stuff over at One Putt. So check them out, www.oneputt.ca, or visit their Instagram at OnePuttYEG. So we lay out the line combinations. Let's go back around to Draisaitl takes the horribly selfish penalty. And I think we all wonder, like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen here? And there wasn't a ton of time left in the second period. And right after the penalty, he didn't come out with McDavid. But then they got the power play, and you never really got to know if he was going to actually sit him for a couple of shifts. Now, I mean, if they came out with that power play and Leon Draisaitl wasn't on it, I know some people might have gone insane, but I would have just sat there and gone like this. Like, good job, Chris Knoblauch. Somebody has finally held Leon Draisaitl accountable, which has never happened in the history of his career with the Edmonton Oilers. Instead, it's a power play, so I kind of get it. You're the coach, you're power play, you're still trying to be in this game. You look past it, you hope he figures it out on his own, and you put him out on the power play. So, but then after that game, after the bad penalty that essentially cost his team a comeback, he gets bumped back up onto the top line with Connor McDavid, where he will be less pouty because he will get passes from people and not have to smash his stick and head off the ice. Tommy, this is to me, and this is why it's so interesting and so critical tonight, because this is the big move, right? Back to McDavid and Draisaitl together against the Los Angeles Kings. Leon plays well against Los Angeles. This is the one where you put them back together, they have a great game, you win, everything's fine. You put them back together tonight, and it's a dud performance, then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, now what? So your thoughts on Knoblauch deciding to put Draisaitl and McDavid back together. And I find, I mean, in addition to that, it's interesting because LA's got some depth down the middle. And you're now taking one of your best centers and moving them onto the wing for a game. So it's a fascinating little discussion here. Where do you come out on the big boys being united again?
Whatever coach the Oilers have while these two are on the team, we'll use them together. We know this. Ideally, they play on their own lines, 5-on-5, and Draisaitl drives his line, McDavid drives his line, and then whoever is the third line center, whether it's McLeod or somebody else, Holloway, I don't know, that they are able to make sure that the waters stay calm when they're out there, hopefully tilt the ice a little bit. Then you have depth, right? You have that nice spine, as we called it in years past when they tried Nugent Hopkins down there. But with him playing with McDavid, I think this is Chris Knoblauch trying to find a spark. Now, he did make one of those comments post-game that I was alluding to where he was asked about Draisaitl and if he had decided or if he would put Draisaitl back out there with his line 5-on-5 or if he was maybe going to hold him back for a shift or two to keep him to account for what he did with that terrible penalty. And he said, I hadn't decided that yet. And so I think
they got the power play, so they didn't have to worry about it.
That's a little hint that maybe he was thinking of penalizing Draisaitl. And if there's people that are texting, I'm not looking at the text line right now or the nasty chat. I'll pop in there right away. But if there are people saying he should be held off, or he should be on his own line, or he shouldn't be rewarded by playing with Connor McDavid, we're saying that about probably one of the top 5 players in the NHL. Not this season. He hasn't had a top 5 NHL season this season, but he's certainly a top 5, top 10 guy when he wants to be. This year hasn't really been the case. Certainly 5-on-5 hasn't been the case, but you need him. And the rules that apply to the majority of the team, to the other, let's say 10 forwards or 9 forwards, I'll put Hyman in the special category this year. They do not apply to Leon Draisaitl. They do not apply to Connor McDavid. You do not get held to the same account because of how special they are. So he's not going to be punished. And when he is punished, quote unquote punished, it's going to be way less severe than if Warren Foegele F's up 6 times in a game or 2 times in a game and gets benched for a few shifts or for the rest of the period. Not going to happen with a Draisaitl, a McDavid, or a Hyman this year.
Yeah, and you're right. I'm not going to disagree with you that it's not going to happen. I'm just not sure it's okay that it doesn't happen ever. It's I guess it's just how stars get treated.
Yeah,
but it's interesting.
Dusty, you only get 1 or 2. You only get 1 or 2 if you're a coach with these guys, with your top guys, your superstar guys. You could do it once or twice, and it'll have a lasting effect. But once you burn that and use up that bullet, you can't do it again. Because if you do it again,
but I'm trying to think,
guess who's getting traded? Or guess who's gone? The coach.
Yeah, but when did Woodcroft do that? He didn't do it, and he still got gassed. So I'm saying if Knoblauch's just going to continue to go the same way that the last guy did, how do we expect a different result? You know what I mean?
They can't go 2-9-1 to start a season.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Knoblauch will probably get the same treatment that Woodcroft got. They can't lose to San Jose 3-2.
I just find it I think you should be able to hold your whole team accountable. And
in theory, yes.
But that's the thing. In theory, yes, but here, no. Which is, I don't think that's ideal. I mean, and we don't follow like Colorado close enough. I don't follow the Tampa Bay Lightning close enough to see, what happens with Kucherov and what happens with the McKinnons and what happens with the McCarrs. And I'm sure it probably is approached very similar to the way that the Edmonton Oilers do it with their star players.
Of course.
But I just think after a game in which your team was trying to fight back into it, and he just took a straight up selfish, stupid penalty, admitted it after the game. He knows he shouldn't have done it, but he did it.
He did it.
And then the next game, he's back up with 97, which is where he's always happiest. So I don't know. I feel like just recycling the same thing over and over again from the coach. So,
yeah, I hear you.
So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But I mean, what's the lesson that's learned if he gets frustrated again, takes a selfish penalty again?
Oh, there's no lesson.
The thing is that there's no consequences. There's no consequences for the top end guys. There just isn't. And if that's how management and the coaching staff feel that it's that's how they have to get the most out of those top end guys, to let them have the extra leeway, then fine. That's the way that they feel it need to be approached. I get it. But I don't know. I don't know if championship teams have significant double standards. And you see them here, and it's right in front of you.
Of course they do. You're not sitting McKinnon. Are you out of your mind? You're not sitting Kucherov. Maybe he misses a couple of shifts for doing something dumb.
Stop there. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
They don't do that here, buddy. They don't do it here.
I know.
So, I mean, I don't know. There's certain guys that are untouchable.
Right.
And it hasn't worked, though.
He's one of them.
Yeah, but go win something first, then call your shots.
What? You're not happy with third or second place in the division year after year after year, and then a second or third round exit?
No, but maybe if you took a stupid penalty and the coach sat you for a few shifts, you change the way you approach things a bit, and you'd get to a cup final. You know what I mean? Like these guys are phenomenal talents, insanely talented players. They haven't won anything in the National Hockey League, and they continue to just approach the game how they want to approach the game because there's no consequences if they don't. Like Connor McDavid, how do you lose a battle to Nazem Kadri at your own blue line, give up for 2 seconds, and have a puck go in the back of your net at the beginning of a Battle of Alberta on a Saturday night? That can't happen. Like the leaders on Saturday were the guys who let them down, and it's just the same thing. Now you just go back. Oh, I lost 3 in a row. Better put these guys back together. And you know what'll probably happen is they'll light it up tonight against the Los Angeles Kings. Everything will be fine for a bit, but then the same thing's going to happen again. This happens all the time. And it's I do
think Draisaitl is going to have a good night tonight because of how bad he was the other night, and McDavid too. Like those are games that they get embarrassed about, and that usually lights a fire under their butts. But I mean, watching the morning skate, you're not thinking to yourself, boy, they're ready for a big game tonight.
That really doesn't make sense to me. Like the whole morning skate thing makes even less sense.
It's like, what's going on? Why are you guys moving so slow? And then you look at the coaches, and they're just kind of like, all right, go again. Nope, that wasn't good. Go again. Hey, do it right. Okay, that was a terrible pass. Next 3, let's go. It was weird. It was very ho-hum.
Ontario Momes is in and says, John Cooper has benched his top line before because they weren't playing well. I was watching the game when it happened. So
good.
Yeah.
But John Cooper has been their coach for 8 years, 9 years?
Yeah, but maybe it's because he's held them accountable along the way.
Yeah, maybe.
Like maybe if somebody reins some of this in without the fear of like disturbing the elites, maybe it would be a little bit different. This text is in. It says Kucherov has been benched for an entire period in Tampa, once in 2003, another time in 2019. The 2023 benching also included Stamkos and Point, and that would have been what Montorio Holmes was talking about. Mike from Calgary says Tampa sat their whole third line for their whole period, their whole top line for a third period at some point. Anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. I said it this morning. I feel like they'll probably play extremely well and roll tonight, and things will be good for a little bit, and then they'll continue not to be able to defend well, and they'll have to mix the lines up again, I guess. If you do think McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman are going to have a good game tonight, you can slide on over to CoolBet and take advantage of it. If you go to coolbet.com, click on exclusives, you will see an EST. It's just called the Edmonton Sports Stock Parlay. And we've got Connor McDavid, 2+ points, Leon Draisaitl with a goal, Zach Hyman with a point, and the Edmonton Oilers to win at plus 550 tonight. They just have to win. It's not in regulation or anything. So McDavid, 2 points, Leon Draisaitl with a goal. Tom, you probably like that. You said you expect him to have a good game. And then, Zach Hyman is going to be on the top line with those guys. Have to think he probably gets a point somewhere along the way as well. That's plus 550 over at coolbet.com. If you're not yet signed up for an account, you can sign up using the code LOCKSHOP when you do. All right, Tommy, what else do we want to get to from this game? One of the things, like I said, I mentioned with Button, a lot of talk here about Draisaitl today, but once again, the issue here is that they can't keep the puck out of their net again. No goaltender has had a save percentage above 900 since the All-Star break, and I'm not just hanging it all on the goalies. What has happened to a team that didn't allow anything for about a month and a bit? Nothing. It was when they were on the winning streak during a game, you'd be shocked if they even gave up a grade A scoring chance. And now it seems like they've fully reverted to what was happening for the first 20 games of the season. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand. If anybody's got an answer, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. We will get into some of your comments here as well. But Tommy, you make anything of it?
I think you were reading a text on the morning show. I can't remember who texted it in, but it was talking about this team's overall psyche, as a group, their collective mindset. And it feels like they got very fat, and sassy.
Yes, good
like
one.
That text or the audio that you played earlier today. They got fat and sassy, and were very content with the body of work they put together in that 16-game winning streak. And they earned that right, but you got to keep earning it. You're in the middle of the season. You can't just be like, oh, we're coming back from the break. Man, that was a good vacation. Oh, Vegas tonight. All right, we're going to have to play good. And then you lose that game even though they played good. And then you're like, we'll be fine in that next game. And then they did bounce back against Anaheim, I think it was. But then, they get shut out by the Kings, and the Kings had the new coach bump. Jim Hiller, 6-2, by the way, since taking over for Todd McClellan behind the Kings bench. But it never seemed like they woke up, fully woke up. And I think a very clear indicator of that is the amount of goals they've allowed in this last 10-game stretch. Another indicator of that is how porous the penalty kill has become. And then their defensive zone work is an abomination. And you alluded to the McDavid back check, if you want to even call it that. Guys not picking up checks in front of the net. Yes, there have been crappy rebounds. Yes, you'd like to see Stuart Skinner and to a lesser extent Calvin Pickard make that extra save or two. But it hasn't been just the goaltending, hasn't been just the forwards, hasn't been just the defense. It's been like collectively, they have their heads up their butts when it comes to playing the right way, earning your chances in the offensive zone, taking care of your house. And I just think that maybe part of that comes from you were very satisfied with your play during the 16-game winning streak. B, just resting on your laurels and thinking that because you're so good and you're back atop the NHL and people are calling you contenders again, that doesn't mean you can't go out there and not put in the work. And I feel like they just kind of got into the groove that has taken them down this path of negativity, and it's on them to wake themselves up. They can play the right way. They've played the right way. Were they against lesser opponents? Yep. But they got the job done. And if you play the right way against the good teams too, you should have a recipe for success. They haven't put together a 60-minute game in this 10-game stretch. They haven't played the right way for the majority of these games. It's just they don't do it. And it's nice to say, oh, they need a trade. Oh, they need to bring in a top six. Oh, they need to bolster the goaltending. Like that's fun. It's fun to say it. Is it realistic? Right now, to a certain extent, yes. But in general, like, you can't just go out there and get a new player every time your team starts playing like crap. Like, at some point, you have to wake up yourselves, not get a coach fired, not ask for a trade or get somebody to come in from the outside to give your team a spark. Pull up your socks, put on your work boots, and go get the job done. Hard work, man. Hard work beats skill every single day.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Portions of the Oil Stream brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, the studio sponsor here at Edmonton Sports Talk. The Oilers Collectors Cups have come and gone for another year. We've got all four of them sitting here in the studio. But you know what's always there? The delicious chicken sandwich. Chicken sandwich, regular or spicy. You cannot go wrong. Get some of the nugs if you want as well. The Cajun fries, they got a bunch of different sides there. Popeyes delivers every single time. It's become one of my new go-tos at the food court at West Edmonton Mall. It's really it's worked its way in there. I didn't think anybody would ever bump Chachi's or Taco Time, but I'm telling you, man, some headway is being made here by Popeyes, which is
Chachi's.
Which yeah, you know Chachi's there, that sandwich joint.
No,
oh, buddy. Yeah, it's in the mall. It's like right across from where like Taco Time and Popeyes are, like across the other way. And
okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's real nice. Chachi's. Real nice sandwiches at Chachi's, buddy. They're good. But like I said, Popeyes is kind of weaseling their way in there on me now at the food court at West Edmonton Mall, at least. All right, let's get to a few of your. You see Gager texting about the F1 league again? He's ready to go.
He sent a video in. You guys are wearing matching outfits today.
Gager and I? Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It's race week.
You guys have the same jacket?
It's race week. We got to fire the old pit stop pals back up. Yeah, no, he's got, mine's a hoodie. The guys at Mobile One got him a jacket. So he's kind of got a jacket, but it looks very similar. They're both Red Bull stuff. So, yeah, no, he's pretty fired up with that right now. All right, let's get to this one. This is a text that comes in from the Liquid Beaver, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Do you guys think the chemistry / mojo of the team got disturbed with the Perry acquisition? Before Perry joined, Knoblauch ran a fairly consistent set of lines that ran all 4 lines. Now it seems like lines are in a constant blender, and the 4th line gets way less minutes. Once again, this is not on Corey Perry. They're not saying that. Corey Perry's done a lot of good things for this team since joining them, but he's just asking if you think the chemistry or mojo of the team got disturbed. Because if you look, Tommy, you could say All-Star break kind of messed with the vibe a little bit. They kind of forgot how to defend. Corey Perry comes in, had to move some things around in the forward group. Sure, maybe messes with the mojo a little bit. Like those are sort of the 2 major things that happened. They haven't had like anybody get significantly hurt due to injury or anything. So what do you make of Liquid Beaver just sort of asking that question?
Interesting thing to note, but when Perry came in, they were already kind of like wonky with their overall game. And we were already talking about that.
Even though they were still winning, they're just, yeah, okay.
And that was
That's
before
fair.
the Perry signing. That was before he came in. There were things that were happening on the ice where you're like, oh, they got away with one tonight. They weren't particularly great in this area of the game, but, power play bailed them out. So, we had those discussions in the week or 2 prior to Perry making his debut with the Oilers. So I understand where Liquid Beaver is coming from that, because we're looking for solutions. Why is this team all of a sudden, hitting the skids, and why are they dropping more games than they should be? Why are they playing so poorly coming out of the gates? And I think Corey Perry has been an excellent addition to this team on the ice. I feel like, and his wife and his kids are at practices and they're around a lot. They were there this morning. I feel like probably off the ice, he's just fine. And whether it has thrown off the group and its play in general, my assumption would be no, because I feel like they were already down that path before they even signed Perry. And I think he has been one of those guys that's actually helped elevate their game overall. But there's been so many deficiencies or lapses that it's too much for a Corey Perry addition to overcome.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can text us or you can hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Guys, is this team a playoff contender or pretender? We can't be a contender based on McDavid and Draisaitl. As a whole, does this team even deserve a big trade? Will one trade even make a difference? That's from the inbox today, Tommy.
Wow.
I still view them as a contender. I view them. I still view them as a contender. I know they haven't been great over the last 10, and they're hemorrhaging goals against again right now. I still do view them as a contender. Probably not the top end Stanley Cup favorite that we might have been viewing them after they won 24 of 27. But I still view them among the 8, 9, 10 teams that I could see winning the Stanley Cup this year.
Hey, this 4-5-1 stretch is not good. We're not going to make excuses for them. I think that they're capable of coming out of it. It's up to them to get their heads out of their collective. You know what? We're looking at a Boston Bruins. I'll just bring this up. We're looking at a Boston Bruins team that's 3-3-4 in its last 10. Nobody's questioning them. All right. Well, we're looking at a LA Kings team that's now on the rise again after struggling, and people are like, ooh, are the Kings back? So, I really do think it's a midseason lull. But if they let it continue and it becomes a midseason lull which turns into a midseason funk where they really, really start to piss away points like they have in the last week, then I'd get really, really concerned. Now, do they deserve a big trade or not? I don't think do they deserve a big trade or not. It's going to help bolster the lineup. It's going to increase the team's overall. It's just going to make them better, I should say. And, whether or not they deserve it, I think that's beside the point. They're going to need help. There are flaws in this roster. And I do think that one thing that I was thinking of when I was listening to you read that text was If the Oilers go into the postseason as like a favorite and everybody's like, look out for the Oilers. Oh, the Oilers are cruising like they were last year. This group has shown us that it generally doesn't handle that type of pressure and spotlight very well. I think this group is better off when it's kind of like off the radar a little bit and people are talking about other teams and saying, oh, look out for the Panthers, look out for Carolina, look out for the Golden Knights. And then Edmonton, wants to be in that conversation. They have to earn their way in. And I think that is the kind of carrot that this team likes dangled before it and chases really well. But when you bestow them, contender and top team distinctions, they don't handle it well.
And it's going to be tough because it's going to be hard to fly under the radar when you got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Going into a playoffs, people are always going to look and go, like, they're not just going to, like, let's say the Kings go in as a wild card. They're not going to just look, somebody's not going to look at the Kings and go, oh, look at this big case for them. If the Oilers go in the playoffs as a wild card, people are going to be like, none of the top 4 teams want to play the Edmonton Oilers right now because it's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It's tough. I think that's a tough thing to fly under the radar when you got 2 guys who are as talented as those 2 guys are. I agree completely with what you said about how the team and how they operate. I just think it's going to be tough for them to fly under the radar, so to speak, come playoff time.
If we're going, what is this team? What Oilers team shows up going into game 1 of round 1? I think that's a better situation for them to be in than us going, this team needs to make the Stanley Cup final. They're a contender. Did you see how they're cruising? Because I don't think they handle it well. But if people are like kind of looking at the Oilers with a side eye, being like, which Oilers show up? I think that if they're at that point going into the postseason, I think that is where they're better suited, kind of in that headspace. You know what I mean?
This is when you say in a lull, midseason lull. What are they when they come out of it, Tommy? Like when do you go, okay, they're not the lull anymore? What type of team are? Because I don't think
I don't think they're defending well.
Okay, well, just that's it. Whether they're winning or not, just as long as they're defending well.
Yeah. Win puck battles. Get to pucks first. Make the right decision. Joaquin talks about in the first 10 minutes, if they're making nice crisp outlet passes, then he knows they're going to have a good game. That's one of their tells. If they're not and they're a mess and they can't put together 2 10-foot passes to save their life in the first 5 to 10 minutes of a game, look out. Like when they're on their game, they're sharp, crisp, right out of the gate. They defend well, and then the offense takes care of itself. Lately, it's 5-on-5. You get a little injection from the power play. That's when it's on top of its game. That's when this group is on top of its game. When they're not, they suck out of the gate. They don't defend. They lose their checks in front. They allow backdoor tap-ins. Their goalie can't save distance shots. Like it all snowballs for them. And they're so Jekyll and Hyde again. It's one end of the spectrum or the other, unfortunately, with this group. And they haven't found that happy medium yet, that's alarming. And you need, as this season goes on and we go into game 56 here, Dusty, like at some point you'd like them to establish a baseline instead of just being over there and then over here and then kind of more towards there again. And so that's the frustrating part and has led to these legit concerns from the fan base.
Penner's Pancakes is in and says, Avs struggling, Canucks dipping, so is Vegas and Dallas. They will be fine, guys. I'm super excited for the all-day EST trade deadline party. Trade deadline is going to be good. Trade deadline is going to be really good here. We'll have extended coverage, obviously, on trade deadline day. Todd from Bonnyville texts in and says, just an observation. Until last night, Vancouver, Vegas, and the Oil, I think they were all 4-4-2 in their last 10. So 3 good teams, sudden mediocrity. Like Vancouver's facing adversity for the first time this year. Vegas has kind of been dealing with a lot of injuries all the way throughout the season. The Oilers have remained relatively healthy, but have been a little bit one way or the other so far. So, not all teams are going to cruise all the way through the season. The other thing that was asked in that one question, we never really got around to it, Tommy. One trade. Do you think there's one trade that makes them significantly better? I do think they could get better with one trade. You would hope you get better with one trade, or else why are you making one trade? You're going to have to crank it up a notch. I know K. Gill. I see you, buddy. He says he thinks they're going to get Adam Henrique, which is a name that certainly kind of popped up in some of these circles.
Well,
now they're not going to do anything until the deadline, right? They're not going to do anything.
If they could pull it. Well, it's quiet right now.
I just think you're not going to do anything to the deadline because they're trying to accrue as much cap space as they can prior to the deadline, right? So,
K. Gill, by the way, bringing up Henrique because I feel like he's been listening to the last 3 weeks of Hello Hockey, where Dave Pagnotta has been bringing up Adam Henrique every time we finally get to Oilers talk. That is a guy who's on their radar, and if they can find the right move to get him, and he is the guy that they target, yeah, then I could see that being realistic. So
plays center and left wing, but I think they move him to the right side if need be.
Veteran guy,
yeah,
you can move him to the right side. So, is that the move? Is it as sexy as some of the names people have been throwing out there? No, but I would rather make the right move if I was a GM and help the team in an area that it needs most, rather than making the big splashy move for the huge name that's available and then that falling flat on its face. Like, look at what the Rangers did last year. They were cruising. They had a great season. And then Chris Drury goes and he gets Patty Kane. He had a couple of other additions, and you think, oh my, look out for the Rangers. And it didn't go their way at all. So I think you got to find that right balance. Look how the Leafs went all out, and they brought in like 8 new guys. And yeah, it got them a first round win over Tampa for the first time. That's great. But sometimes I'd rather the right move, and it might not be as sexy at the time that you hear about it being announced, as opposed to the big splashy move that you think is what this team needs because it gets the big dog on the market.
Well, as Edmo said, Bukestad wasn't a sexy name, right?
And it worked out.
He wasn't a sexy name, but he checked a couple of boxes for that team that he would have still checked if they managed to keep him around.
And Dusty, I'll add this. We talked about it a bit on Hello Hockey as well. After we got through the Canucks and Flames talk with Pagnotta, we got to the Oilers talk. He brought up Henrique again, and then he brought up Philadelphia. Listen, he also downplayed Gensel to Edmonton. He didn't think that was going to happen. And then he said the Oilers and the Flyers have been talking all season. Even when they were at 2-9-1, there had been conversations. And it's not Konechny, by the way, if you didn't watch Hello Hockey. Konechny just got an A put on his chest, and that's not who Edmonton would get. Pagnotta thinks that they've been targeting Scott Lawton. So there's your 3C, and bolsters the top 9. And then he also mentioned that Sean Walker. He mentioned
Sean Walker too, yeah.
Is the guy that they're also looking at. So those are the 2 names out of Philly.
I think the real win here would be if they can get somebody under contract for next season. Then you don't have to go out and spend the assets on them again. I think it's possible to win in the rental market, sure. I mean, depending on the price that you pay, but if they can bring in a piece that will be around for at least next season as well, I think that's how you view the deadline as a really, really good day. And, we'll see how that sorts itself out. Obviously, we'll have full coverage from first thing in the morning all the way to well beyond the deadline on deadline day right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. So make sure you tell your friends they can listen on TuneIn, and now they can listen on iHeart, as we are fully streaming on iHeart today for the first time. We got partnership going with The Bear as well over at 100.3 The Bear. I'll be on there every single morning as well with Yukon and McCord talking sports, which will be good. We'll be able to pump up Edmonton Sports Talk a little bit, and you'll see us pop up in a few other places as well here as we try to push out Edmonton Sports Talk a little bit more than we had as we built it over the first 6 months. But I get on iHeart's exciting, right, Tommy?
I think so. I was listening this morning. It was sounding really crisp, and it was like perfectly, how when you go on YouTube, it's like a couple seconds delayed.
Yeah.
It was perfectly in sync with YouTube and TuneIn. And I was like, this is nice. And just the more platforms we can be on, the better. I ran into some people after the game. I went to Kelly's with Patty Steinberg and DVD. I hadn't been there in like 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm not even lying.
You always say you haven't been to Kelly's for 2 to 3 weeks.
I was there with Pat Steinberg. Patty was a very popular guy there, and rightly so. He's an absolute beauty. And just talking. Some people were like, "Hey, Tom, what's going on?" And it's good to catch up. And then one guy was like, "Tom, where are you now? Like, are you? What's going on?" I'm like, "Edmonton Sports Talk." He's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "That's the new station." He's like, how do I find it? And I was like, well, here. And he's like, no way. And he's like, very much like 1260. I was like, a lot of the same elements. And he's like, I'm in.
Good.
He's like,
good. That's one.
Eric,
that's one. Yeah.
I want it. I'm like, yeah. So it's, we need to get out a little bit more. We haven't really advertised. This is a good cross promotion that we're doing with our good buddies at the Bear. And let's see where it goes. As long as we're available and out there and people find us and come back to us and are happy, so are we.
Well, and a lot of it is word of mouth as well. So if you could tell your friends when you're talking to them, if they're looking for some good sports content in the city, tell them about Edmonton Sports Talk on iHeart now, on TuneIn. You can listen for me on the Bear in the mornings as well. We're diving obviously into the Oilers and what happened against the Flames, and then with the Kings coming into town tonight as well. We had a great time yesterday, good charity event, hoping to raise up around $45,000. Dash came by today, presented our team with a fundraising trophy, which was nice to see. We didn't win the actual trophy as we heavy hockey showdown. We played 2 games. We played 2 36-minute games, basically 18-minute periods for the first game, and then 2 18-minute periods in the second game. Tommy, myself and you I've been on the coach today saying we were miscast a little bit. Like, we are not defensemen. We decided to play D, take one for the team.
We did.
But I just felt awkward back there the entire bloody time. I don't know how people play defense.
Well, I told you at one point on the bench, I'm like, I feel like I'm going
the wrong way
the entire time. I have to work on my my backward skating. I got a good workout yesterday, and your instincts with the puck, and you're below the goal line with it, and you're like, what do I do? Like, am I supposed to be going to the front? Like, but it was a lot of fun, and I know they were just over 40 grand, inching their way to 45,000. I think there's still a 50-50 that's going on. And that was a great event, even though we lost both games. There's some good players on the other side.
Yeah, there was.
We had a team EST was great. A huge thank you to Pete and Fergie's Prostate for their donations. And I was thinking too, Dusty, like maybe because we all got jerseys, maybe one of them we should put up in our.
Well, actually, studio. Dash brought one today that says 24 in Edmonton Sports Talk on the back. So we have that one, and then we have the 81 that says AM Nasty on the back. But what's your idea? What are you thinking?
I was thinking we give our coaches like Pete and
the other boys would have their jerseys, like YouTube Trev and stuff, or your jersey. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I could bring in mine if they want, but you don't need to have Gazzola 18 on the back. You could have just the EST with all the put up somewhere. So I was just thinking that, as a thank you to those guys who were great, helped us with our donations.
I hate the defensive side of playing defense. But I do like the offensive side of playing defense. Like, the one thing, and I'll play D when I go to Friday drop in. There's just more ice time, and it's just more of a chill skate. But what I do like is reading the play and looking for the stretch pass. I like that. I like that a lot. That's by far the best thing about being a defenseman, is trying to hit somebody up at the blue line. And we did that once. I hit Savage one time, and he managed to go, and that was our first goal. There's nothing better about playing D than hitting a 3-line stretch pass. It's the best.
I like rushing the puck.
Yeah. We operate differently, obviously.
Yeah. I had a few rushes. They didn't result in goals. I set up a couple guys, and especially at the end of the last game, I can't remember who was in front. But it was a tap in, and he got all twisted up, and wouldn't have made a difference. We were down a couple anyway, but it was fun playing defense. It was nice being paired up with you. Lieutenant Eric, I could use that massage because he was our team masseuse.
I hit a bathtub last night, buddy. I hit the soaker. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got in there last night for about probably 30, 35 minutes. It was great. I needed it. I got home because I had to leave quickly, and I got pulled over, actually, leaving the rink.
What?
Yeah. But it was a listener, and it worked out okay in the end, so I don't want to...
What happened?
I turned right on a red that you're not supposed to turn right on.
Oh.
And I didn't even realize what I did. And anyway, the guy pulls up next to me, and he unrolls the window. He goes, "Hey, Dusty, how many times you leave Rogers Place?" And I said, "Well, I usually go up to 107th and back down that way because I live on the west side."
Yeah.
So I'm going down to a church event right now. He goes, "All right." He goes, "Just make sure at that turn south of Rogers, it's red only." I said, "I didn't even think, man." It was the middle of the day. There was no cars around. So, but he was a nice guy.
That's nice of him, and glad he's a nasty.
Well, it was really busy anyway. It was really busy down there right then at that time, at that part of the street. And there's some construction there and stuff right now.
Yeah.
So but that was
Oil
nice.
Kings. It was Oil Kings yesterday, right when we finished up, and then all of the crosswalks like around there are those scramble crosswalks, and you can't turn right on a red.
Yeah, because of the scramble, because of the cross, right? I didn't even think about it. So anyway, but nice guy, super nice guy. Super nice guy. It was nice of him.
Lucky.
Lucky for sure.
Lucky.
I did kind of milk it a bit. I was like, I was just playing in a charity game, and it was like, I'm being a really good boy. I was raising money for charity, but it was
And we didn't even have beers after, which
we did. No, it was some Gatorades, and then back on the road there. So that was that was nice though. But overall, great time, great charity. Very much looking forward to being a part of it next year. Hopefully we can continue to grow. There's a lot of great charity events in this city. Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton does fly under the radar a little bit, as Michael and Dash had pointed out quite a bit. So that's a nice one for us to hop on with as well, which was really good.
Hey, you know what's funny too? I didn't know Michael was a giant like you. You guys were
Mike's a big boy. Like when we're back to back,
like
we didn't go back to back, but we stood right next to each other at Soho on Saturday. And I think I might have had him by about half an inch, but I was wearing some bigger shoes. So I bet you we're both just straight up 6'5". He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Moves well for a big guy too.
Yeah, he does. He does.
No, good player. That's a heavy hockey crew.
Was a lot of fun.
That was a good time.
Yep.
That was a good time.
Yep.
X-Ray J's, and it says hammer the like and subscribe, guys. Yeah, definitely. Let's subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. He also said he's about an hour into a soak right now. I got home last night. I said to Tam, I would pay $10,000 for a hot tub right now. And she's like, that is what you would have to pay for a hot tub. And I was like, oh, never mind then. That's a lot. But it would have been a great soak last night in the tub. Like, oh my goodness.
Yes. I think I'm on my way. I'm going to finish up some pregame prep. Then I'm going to go over to the gym and then probably put in a little more time in the steam room and hot tub.
Get yourself a steam and a hot tub at the gym, buddy. That's you're a lucky boy today. That's
lucky boy,
that's nice.
Fancy boy.
I'm gonna trek back across the West End in the snow in the winter that we've now been hit with. Oil Stream, as always, brought to you by Boston Pizza. If you are looking for a place to watch the game tonight, or order in on Boston Pizza. I came home, I guess Saturday. Was it Saturday I came home? Or Friday? No, it would have been Saturday I came home. There's the family having Boston Pizza. I was like, look at you guys and your Boston pizzas. The kids love it. Kids love Boston Pizza. So go watch the game there tonight. X-Ray J says it's totally worth it. It's an investment in yourself. Right? It is an investment in yourself.
That's a great argument.
If we had the perfect place in the backyard for a hot tub, I think we'd already have one. But it's just like we have like almost enough space in like 3 different places, but not totally enough. And it's but then I got to maintain it and stuff. You know how I am with maintaining things. Like I feel like this hot tub gets broken in a year.
Oh, I saw the desk before on the wide shot. I saw it.
The desk here?
Uh-huh.
It's notes for the show, you know?
Unacceptable.
That's about it. That's notes for the show. All right, that's going to do it for the Oil Stream today. Tommy will be back with the Oil Stream pre- and post-game coverage tonight. What time's pre-game get rolling, buddy?
We get going today at 6, 7:30 face-off tonight. Dennis Bernstein, the one and only, our Kings insider from the 4th period, will be joining myself, Cass, and I think YouTube Trev tonight.
All right. Yeah, it is YouTube Trev. He's back tonight. So Matt Cassidy and Tom Gazzola, YouTube Trev, right here tonight. Pre-game, prior to the game, obviously. Post-game, on your way after. You can listen on TuneIn. You can listen on iHeart. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube if you are at home later on tonight. Tommy, have a good pre and post tonight, buddy, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at some point.
Thank you, Dusty. Drive safe, pal.